How's it going, guys? This is going to be a short video regarding the 9-inch frame. I've got two of them with me at the moment, so this is the latest one, and this is probably the one you've seen on my other videos. So we got two 9 inches by here. The update with the frame, I've made some minor changes to it to make it a little easier to assemble. So this frame here should be available soon. Originally I was going to cut them myself on my CNC by here, but I've decided against that. I simply just don't have the time to spend all my time up here cutting frames for people. So what I'm going to do is probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the company. So if you've heard of CNC drones, they are based in Canada. They offer a service that you can upload your files and people can purchase them from there. So that is the best bet that I can come up with to making this frame accessible to people. So the few things that I've changed on this frame, the first one being there's now press nuts on the top of the motor plate. On the previous one here, the first one, I just used nylock nuts on the bottom, which done the job, but I wanted it a bit better, so we got some press nuts on each corner. When you're building it, they'll probably come loose in the bag, so you can either put them on top or bottom. I put them on the top, simply reason being is the fact that the motors that sit on top of here run very close to all the bolts are on the outside, so getting access to that bolt there is a little tricky. So on this one here, these motors particularly, they are running very close to the bolt heads, so you can't really access them, which is a shame. I know I could make this bigger for that, but personally I wanted these as small as possible, so that is the best I can come up with. It's just something you're gonna have to put up with if you want this frame. Besides that, the biggest change that I've made to this frame is these top plates. So the way these top plates originally was fixed to this main frame was they had standoffs underneath the frame and they were screwed in, but the problem with that is you cannot access them whatsoever. So if you need to do any work on the top, it was an absolute nightmare. So you had to take the bottom plate off and then unscrew the side plates underneath, pull them off, and then you got access, but then you run into the issue of these arms flopping everywhere. So that was a bad design choice. I knew this was going to be a problem, but it was a prototype and I needed it done for my trip, so that is why I've done it, so it was easy and quick. Originally I was going to make CNC plates to go inside here so that you can screw them on the sides and then you can unscrew them and they come off, but the only issue with that is manufacturing them. I simply do not have the ability to do it. I know I can do it on the CNC, but it's long-winded and not worth it. So the solution I've come up with is using press nuts. I've seen this done on different frames before, so that was what I've decided to do. So you've got slots in the frame here, 3 on each side, with a bolt going through nuts, and then to take them off, you flip it on the other side, and we got holes here. So we got your 2 bolts there, 2 bolts on the back, and then you've got 2 holes here to access the other bolts. Once you have done them, they can slide off and you can do everything that you need to do on the top without taking these arms off, which, like I said, is an utter nightmare. So that problem is solved. Other than that, that is pretty much it. The frame has been designed around walk snail, so this mount here will be made for walk snail. I'll double check before I make this available that the DJI system will fit inside. I'm positive it will. You may need to make some new TPU mounts if you wanted something different, but majority cameras should fit in the front. The VTX room on the back is quite small area. For instance, if you was using the Moonlight camera system from Walksnail. It's a bit of a squish to get it in, and then you've got to find a way of routing your ESC wire over the top. So what I've done here is basically cut a big hole in the bottom here. The other one I didn't have that, so when you put your speed controller into here, you can run the wire straight down through the frame, through underneath the frame, which is out of the way of the VTX, and then you can just solder them up to your XT90 on the back, which got press nuts here. You put your XT90 slides in there and bolt it up and solder it up, and it's good as gold. So you shouldn't have any issues running the wires over the top. The particular ESC that I am running on that one there has a hobby wing ESC, and the battery pads slightly hang over the board. It's not square, so it comes off. That could cause some issues if your soldering technique is not up to standards. I say standards. If you heat the solder up too much, the wire becomes really stiff and you will not get it down through that hole. So you need to minimize the heat, try and concentrate the heat into the board, not into the wire, so that the solder spreads up the wire. But if you're running a smaller VTX, you can just run the wire straight over the top, like I done that one, and then solder it in the back like so. So if you look here, so I've run the wire straight out of the back here. It's gone over the top of the VTX, and then it's soldered into an XT90 with no problems at all. So other than that, everything is practically the same. The only issue is when you get this frame, it's going to get a little tricky finding what goes where. So the front motor plates are different to the back. The shape itself is identical, but the way that the motor arms slot in is slightly different. So if you try to put these plates on the back, they just literally, well, they will not fit at all. You should be able to notice that anyway. The arms as well, they can be tricky to fit. I've tried getting the tolerances as close as I can get them without making them too big. So if you do buy the frame, when you get it, you'll probably have to sand down the motor arms slightly just to get them to fit there a little bit better, and make sure when you're building it as well, these motor plates are sitting flat to the main plate and they're not skew at an angle, which can cause the drone to fly a bit iffy. Most flight controllers will manage it pretty well, but you want the frame mechanically sound with no crazy angles in the motor arms. That is the one tendency of running strut arms like this. If you do not get these lined up perfectly, you will get them wonky. But this strengthening bar here, the strut bar, that kind of helps pull everything together and keep things straight, and it really does make this frame extremely rigid. So that's that. The nuts as well, I tried to get them as close as I could to make them nice and tight, but you may need to sand them out slightly so that they fit nice and snug. I don't want to make them too loose so that they're basically falling out. So that's just one of the trade-offs of this frame. It's a pretty complex frame for what it is. When it comes to cutting it, the tolerances are just not impossible, but very difficult to get perfect. And when I'm sending the files over to CNC, I cannot control the tolerances as what I can back here. So what I'll do is make sure these are slightly on the smaller side, so that when you put it together, it's all nice and tight. Besides that, it's all the same basically. You've got your SMAs that fit on the back here. That is a nice little job. You run your VTX in here, you run the SMA wires down through here and up through there, and you bolt them on. The ones I recommend using is the 90-degree ones. Don't use the straight ones because they will be running too far down here, the wire, and they will end up snagging on the carbon fiber. So do run a 90-degree SMA in there. Other than that, everything's pretty good. I've added, so I've added these holes on the slots as well to make it easier to get in. I think they're 1.5mm holes all the way around, so that when the CNC cuts it, you won't have no rounded edges in the corner stopping the carbon arms from going in. So this should be ready, like I said, 2 to 3 weeks. I'll probably put another video out then saying that is available if you want it. Regarding the 3D prints, I will upload them onto Thingiverse for everyone to get them themselves and download them and print them. I did make some changes there, but I'll probably revert back. What I originally did on a bigger version of this, the 10-inch, I split this big 3D print into 2 pieces, and the reason for doing that is this back section here doesn't need to be 100% infill, so that adds weight to the frame, say. So what I did on the 10-inch is I split it here so I could print this section out 100% infill, and then the back I can reduce it to bring down the weight. But for the size of this frame and the props is running, you really don't need to be saving too much weight. It handles really well, it flies really well, even with the TPU, the big TPU here adding weight, but it is what it is. We've got a ventilation duct on the back here and 2 in the front. I find that does enough to cool the VTX. We got exit holes as well on the back. Got one there, and obviously that big one on the back. So this VTX should stay relatively cool. I've not tried it in some extreme heats, so if you're in a hot country you might run into issues, you might not. I don't think you will because of that duct. That as long as you mount your VTX in the back here, you're cooling your VTX constantly when you're flying forward, so you won't have any issues there, I hope. But if you ever do run into issues and you come across this video, just give me a shout and I'll see what I can do. Regarding the GoPro Mini as well, not everyone runs these cameras. I personally love them. I don't think GoPro sells them anymore. I'm not 100%, but I have designed a TPU mount that I am actually printing right now that will fit onto the normal size GoPro. If you're running anything else like the DJI, you'll have to design your own mount to mount onto here. I personally don't have one to design one, so that is what I got to work with. So other than that, it's good. Straps as well on the bottom. I recommend 250mm. I think I'm running on these, or 300. I'm pretty sure it is 250s. If you're running big packs, which is what it's designed for, so something like a 4000 milliamp to 5000, you need the longer, bigger straps. Does the job well. These are Send It ones. I'm not sure where I got these from, but they do the job. And that's it. And then when you're soldering the wires as well, the motors, you run them straight through these slots on the 3D print. I haven't noticed any chafing scuffs on the wires from the 3D print. I made the holes big enough so that there's plenty enough room for them to move around without getting damaged, so that's a plus. As long as you don't squish them on the shallow sides, you'll be golden. So that's that. I haven't got the antennas on there at the moment. This haven't flown for a while, so that's that. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you want to buy one of these in the future, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. So I'm planning 3 weeks. That should give me enough time to get this sorted for everyone. I'll get the files online as well, and the GPS mount as well. I've designed this around this GPS. I can't remember the name of it. I can't think now. I don't think you can buy these anymore. I'm not 100% sure, but this is the GPS I've decided to go with. I personally love these. They work with Walksnail very well, and it's out of the way of the VTX, so you don't get any crazy interference from Walksnail, which are known to be prone to disabling your GPS, sorry. So yeah, and This as well, like a note as well, because I'm going to list it as a 9-inch. It wasn't designed as a 9-inch. It was designed around these props. So these are the T-Motor Cine props. I believe they're 8.5 inch. These props are amazing. I love them. I'm sure they're carbon plastic as well. I'm positive they are. They are very rigid and strong, and I produce a good amount of lift. So that is a prop we decided to go with. As you can see here as well, if I can get that in frame, just a sec. The props run pretty close to the frame. I know you can run 9-inch, but they will overlap the frame slightly. So expect that when if you plan to run 9-inch as such. So the back ones, you got a ton of clearance on, so you won't run into any issues there. Just those front ones will run pretty close to the front frame, but it's not a problem. So there we go. You could probably run 7-inch props on this as well. If you put lighter motors on it, you could prop it down and it could run it as a 7-inch. Totally up to you. But I think that is everything that I've covered. I'll probably build this one up as well for a bit of fun. And I'll probably see you in the next video. So until then, see you next time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.